In her book, Beyond the Periphery of the Skin, Silvia Federici argues that within today's capitalistic environment, we need to reappropriate the body. She writes, "Our struggle then must begin with the reappropriation of our body, the revaluation and rediscovery of its capacity for resistance, and expansion and celebration of its powers, individual and collective. Attending to the body's intrinsic powers is to learn from its languages, its rhythms." As she continues, "Our bodies have reasons that we need to learn, rediscover, reinvent. We need to listen to their language as the path to our health and healing, as we need to listen to the language and rhythms of the natural world, as the path to the health and healing of the earth." How might we think further about Federici's call for listening to the body? In what sense can the body be listened to? And how might we understand such listening as the basis for countering capitalism's appropriation of the body as a power, and which can also enable greater solidarity or even sympoiesis with the natural world? I'm moved by Federici's proposal and the urgency underpinning her understanding of listening. I also feel a sense of urgency for nurturing ways of learning languages of health and healing, and also for inventing new languages, new ways of listening that might afford a greater sense of solidarity, mutuality, collective creativity. In this regard, I wonder if in listening to the body, one collaborates with the body, understanding the body as something that is fundamentally more than myself, and that I must attend to, care for, appreciate, and as Federici says, learn from. Yet, what of the limits of the body, the situatedness of it? Federici seems to suggest that listening enables an emancipatory potential, or a power for contending with the social and political structures that orient or exploit the body, that extract from the body and that profit from forms of atomization. Even though the idea of listening to the body suggests a turning inward, a gesture of self-reflection, it feels equally as an act of considering others. Listening as a movement, a threading that passes through and across oneself and others. In turning to my body, the body may also turn away, or rather, it turns me toward others, showing the degree to which my body is always more than myself. Listening might be what allows me to recognize this. I also hear this in Federici's call, this sense of the power of the body being a collective, multiplying power, a deep or expansive power, and listening being an act of gaining strength by attuning to that power. I wonder if such strength is founded on that sense of being bound to others, to understand that one is bound to the way others hold us, as well as instrumentalize us, situate us by way of our skins, our identities, our communities. I'm curious in how the body is stretched, pulled, poked, and made to matter or not, and for different reasons, for different gains. In this way, I'm not sure listening to the body is always leading to an image of togetherness or commingling as we might think. Rather, it could also be an extremely tough fight to bring awareness to the very fact of being appropriated and instrumentalized. Listening may equally deepen recognition as to the fight ahead, reminding of what little control we have over ourselves. This brings us to that sense of the body always being situated, and one's listening therefore as being bound to the body in terms of questions of gender, race, class, which necessarily impacts on how I listen to the body and how my body may allow for such listening. Bodies are specific bodies, as we know, and I don't think Federici is suggesting we overlook that fact. Maybe her call for listening to the body as a path toward individual and collective power is more to capture that specificity as the basis for forms of solidarity. Solidarity fostered by listening across and then below the skin, a sort of nature-culture listening, or what Pauline Oliveros also terms quantum listening, as something that is adept at moving across different scales, from the micro to the macro, the immanent to the transcendent. Maybe this is what healing can be in terms of working through one's situatedness and the bonds which support as well as hinder us. Following Federici, listening emerges as key to questions of solidarity, as what may work on behalf of what Judith Butler terms an egalitarian imaginary, as a horizon of thought and imagination by which actions may be guided. Listening is a gesture of concern which can help build a general social sense of care and compassion, of taking time and of paying attention. Listening as what facilitates regard for others, that supports the sharing of speech and creative and critical dialogue. Listening is so deeply human, while equally extending beyond a human-centered world, supporting a greater sense for other life forms, as well as the world of matter, for listening is often in collaboration with other things. From the digital devices and machines we spend so much time with, and which often cater to our listening habits, delivering all types of music, voices, and conversations into our lives, to the rustling leaves, whispering winds, oceanic tides, and soft murmurs of environments, not to mention the animals that may fill our apartments with their soundings. Listening easily migrates to generate all types of contacts and alliances. Such an extended form of attention is foundational to what Anna Tsing calls the art of noticing, which she poses as the basis for taking a more modest and nurturing approach to being on the planet. Equality, fraternity, and solidarity, which, following listening's passionate, considerate, vulnerable, and generous work, may also support health, coexistence, mutuality, and biodiversity. Solidarity and the related strategies and practices needed to foster, create, or sustain its presence, to my thinking, is grounded in an ethics of openness. In what ways is openness expressed, lived, made tangible? And how might we learn to adopt openness as an ethical, philosophical, and practical stance? One such approach may be captured by way of listening and its lessons. For listening requires openness. It is to be placed within the between of here and there, to be stretched, pulled, and poked, as well as prone to consensuality. To listen is to attend to the said as well as the saying, the meaningfulness of words, and the effective vitality of their expression. While we may focus on the importance of the freedom of speech, it is equally necessary to posit the freedom of listening as what can contribute to fostering solidarity. Listening may open, but it also may hold. In figuring a time and space by which to regard each other, listening also holds that space, prolongs that time, allowing for often difficult things to be said. It is a holding environment, supporting the previously unsaid in finding articulation or resonance. From listening to the body as a path toward health and healing, as a fight to capture or reorient the bonds that situate us, to listening to the voices and rhythms of the communities that surround us, human and more than human communities. Listening may move us, may act as the basis for movement.